Okay. Well, hi, Stace. Hi, Steph. So glad you are on the Moms Overcoming Overwhelm podcast today. And thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Oh, you're so welcome, Emily. This is an honor. I've been following your podcast probably for the last couple of months, so it's a little surreal to be on it. Thank you for having us.
Oh,
Yeah, we're happy to be here, and overcoming overwhelm is a topic very close to our hearts, one we have not quite mastered.
I don't know if anyone's mastered it. Always good to help the overwhelmed moms out there. And I was really glad that you both reached out because I have noticed I've been doing this podcast for about 2.5 years now. And I have a Facebook group of moms. And when they join the group, they answer to questions like, what does motherhood look like? I have seen so many moms that have said that they've recently, just within the last couple of years, been diagnosed with
Yep,
ADHD. It's just like exploding as far as like I can
yep.
see. And that's why I'm really excited to jump in. So I would love it if you could both tell the listeners a little bit about yourselves and, what motherhood looks like, how you serve moms. And I guess
Absolutely.
so we can recognize voices just for the first time, maybe say who's who, and then
Yeah.
we don't have to do that
Sure.
anymore.
Yes. Well, even after one of our one of our longtime listeners and very, very close friends still tells me that she can't tell us apart on the podcast. So I'm Steph. This is Steph. We Stace and I both live in Colorado. We both have two daughters. I have a 13-year-old who lives at home with me, and my 18-year-old daughter is a college freshman. I'm a single mom. So right now, mom life is me and my 13-year-old and our needy rescue dog, Winnie. And my girls and I all have ADHD. We were all three diagnosed within the last year and change. And so as the scope of our podcast has shifted to really focus on moms with ADHD, it's been a really enriching experience because, my family, we're still new to this diagnosis. And so for us, family life looks a lot like managing emotional regulation, clutter, overwhelm, staying on top of things. But I can say that parenting teenage girls is like the best thing ever. We're super close and I love it. So that is my life. I also teach creative writing to midlife women and voice lessons to adolescent girls. So lots of female energy up in my world.
hmm Steph is not giving herself enough credit. She does a lot more than that, but I'll let her stop
Uh,
there. Um, I I am Stacey. Nice to meet you all. I am a writer. I no, scratch that. I am Stacey. I have two daughters, like Steph said. Mine are 5 and 7. And I live in Golden, Colorado with my husband. And what's interesting about Steph and my journey is that we started this podcast, gosh, almost 4 years ago now. And when we started, it's called the Mother Plus podcast because it was really about how we felt like we were more than just mothers. So we both kind of struggled with this ambivalence in motherhood. We always wanted to be mothers. And then we became mothers. And then we're like, oh my God, I'm falling apart. What is going on? I love my children dearly, but I've lost myself and I'm losing my mind as well. And so Mother Plus meant Mother Plus entrepreneur, Mother Plus artist, Mother Plus yogi. And so we'd have all these women on to talk about how yes, they were mothers, but they were also pursuing all these other things, passions, jobs, whatever. And it was great. But it wasn't until about 3 years in that both Steph and I got diagnosed with ADHD, and then all of the puzzle pieces just fell together. We looked back at our episodes and we're like, oh my God, this is why we were struggling so much. And once we started talking about that on the podcast and we started having more mental health professionals so that we could better understand what was going on in our brain, the podcast just blew up. Our audience, instead of getting lower, instead of losing people because we were changing our message, it actually just increased. And we realized that the whole time we were probably speaking to a lot of ADHD moms because
right.
we had the same struggles. We were really unorganized. Our emotions were all over the place. Time blindness, just there were so many things that we didn't understand why we were struggling with until our ADHD diagnosis. So it's been pretty life-changing for us, and we're really excited to talk to your audience who may also be
Yeah.
struggling with the same things and are trying to do the conventional ways to get organized, and it's not working for them because,
they're using the wrong map. They're
yeah.
using the wrong set of operating instructions. And I think it's really interesting, Emily, that you said you've noticed more ADHD moms, because that's the thing we talk about so much, where we have this irritating thing that people sometimes say, like, oh, it seems like everyone has ADHD. And it's not the same as just like, oh my gosh, we're all overwhelmed. It's not that we didn't have it before. It's
Yeah.
that right now there's finally some more awareness about how girls and women's brains are different and how ADHD presents differently. And if your listeners are moms, chances are there's been either a postpartum or a perimenopause,
Yeah.
some right on the heels of the other. And that's when the hormone thing happens. And that's why there are so many moms who have late diagnosed ADHD right now. It's not because we weren't there before, it's
Yeah.
because finally all the pieces are falling together.
It's kind of this perfect storm because what happens is you have children, and so the stakes get higher, the responsibilities are higher, right? And your hormones are changing and your coping mechanisms go out the window. Like if you were able to just hold it together before in your early 20s to late 20s, and everything was like you were kind of cute and fun and you were always late and like you were life
Just
of
a
the
little
party,
spazzy.
a little
Yeah.
spazzy. My nickname was Spacey Stacey. But then you have kids and you're like, oh, wait, I can't get by like this anymore. And then you start falling apart.
I
And
feel like I feel like we should call it the imperfect storm, because
mm,
there's a lot of imperfection happening up in our world. So anyway, we warned you, Emily. We could go down rabbit holes all day long. So
No,
we're
I really appreciate it because I've also noticed as like neurotypical brain here that when I'm helping clients and I'm thinking, okay, I want all my surfaces clear because anything out like drives me crazy, like I can't deal with it. And then people telling me if I don't see it, I forget about it. And for
yeah.
me, that's like this foreign concept. And so it's been really helpful for me to try to better understand my neuro spicy
Hmm.
fellow mamas,
You,
just because it's like recognizing the organization solutions that work for me don't work for everyone. And how can I best serve these moms that are coming to me, that need help? So I really
yeah.
appreciate that.
It's like you need a translator. We can be your translator, right? Like
Thank you.
this is it. No, we can't because we don't understand the typical. We know. I
I
think it's really wonderful that you call that out, because we all just neurodiversity aside, we all have our own little things. We all have our quirks, right? But to kind of know that there is a set of operating instructions that like really doesn't work for women with ADHD. My youngest has a math tutor right now, and her tutor has ADHD, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, this is so much easier now because you understand how my brain works, and you can explain it to me in a way that makes sense." And yeah, I just think that's fascinating.
love that you mentioned the clean counters because I have this very vivid memory of reading a Real Simple article, the magazine Real Simple, about the importance of clean counters. And I was in my like early 20s at the time, and I really took it to heart. I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to have clean counters. And so I tried so hard to put everything under the cabinets off the counters, and I hated it. It's just stressed me out so much because I was like, I can't find anything because it's all under here, and I don't actually feel better by my counters feeling clean. And at the time I didn't really understand that, again, it was just my brain working a little bit
Yeah.
differently, and I wasn't meant to follow conventional advice like that. So
Oh, yeah. I remember like right around my diagnosis time, I was talking to my best friend on the phone, and I could hear her like fiddling around with stuff, and she was like, "I'm meal prepping," and I was like, "Wait, I thought it was rude to not give someone your full," but then she has it too. Um she doesn't know it. Maybe she kind of knows. Anyway, I was like, I am listening to her so much better when I'm like putting my laundry away and doing my closet stuff and tidying. And I was like, I thought it was really rude to be like doing these tasks while I was talking to someone. But I'm like, actually, for me, I listen better when I'm doing these little meaningless things. And that's how we also accidentally stumbled on this beautiful technique because I know decluttering is a big part of the work you do. In ADHD world, we call it body doubling. And what I didn't realize at the time was that my best friend and I, we were unconsciously body doubling on the phone. She was doing stuff she didn't really want to do. I was doing stuff I didn't really want to do. And if we hadn't been on the phone with each other, I can say that my laundry would not have been put away and my dresser would not have been tidied, right? And so that is one little bit of ADHD magic with decluttering.
Yeah.
Body double, get on the phone. We do Zoom. We have an ADHD Moms Club on Facebook, and we have body doubling meetings where everyone's just on their Zoom. You don't have to look a certain way. You don't even have to look at the camera. We're just doing the things that we don't want to do together.
Yeah, I love that, especially because I always say, decluttering is decision making, and decision making is not always fun. And so if you
No.
have that, to be able to do that, in someone else's presence, that is so helpful. And I love how you're giving examples of how whatever the culture around us is saying, like, you have to do it this way. It needs to look this way. And then you think, like, is there something wrong with me? Like, am I broken?
Yes.
And I'm curious, I always talk about sort of the science behind clutter and how kind of using that visual clutter example, on the countertops or whatever, that our brain sometimes will see things as undone tasks. So, like if I go into the kitchen and I see the permission form that needs to be signed and the dishes that have to go into the sink, and oh, I have to remember to thaw this and all of that, that kind of really messes with my brain. And but then I'm curious, kind of from your own experiences, how would like an ADHD brain experience that kind of visual clutter differently or just kind of clutter in general? Because again, I'm kind of coming from this, I always think, okay, out of sight is better, and that's how I don't see everything around me as things that I have to do. But I would love if you could give examples of maybe how your brain sort of see clutter
Yeah.
differently or declutter differently or any of that.
Right. Okay, Stace, I'm very curious about how you feel about this because on the one hand, yes, if I don't see the pile, oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. I haven't mailed this. I haven't done it for sure. I agree that if we aren't looking at it, that it goes away, which is why I nearly am obsessed with my to-do lists. They are the thing tethering me to reality. If I don't write it down, that to me is I have to see it, right?
Mhm.
But the clutter, I think, is a double-edged sword because I get that with the counters, like, oh, that's right, there's the permission slip. But I think, and Stacey, I want to hear what you think about this. I'm obviously divorced now. One of the things that my former partner was just baffled by the fact that like I could just walk by the same pile a million times. I just didn't see it. So that's where I'm like, yes, on the one hand, we need to have something in front of us to see it, but on the other hand, the laundry, the counter, like to a degree, I just would tune it out. Now, if I hit my overwhelm point, then I simply must. Everything has to be cleaned. It must go away because now my external chaos is reflecting my internal, or vice versa. It's too much, and so I get to that tipping point where all of a sudden I need all the clutter gone. I need all the chaos cleared. But I think the big thing is what we learned about the ADHD brain is it's wired for interest and not importance, and that can be, Casey Davis talks about household care tasks being morally neutral. That felt like big absolution for me and Stace because we felt like there was something wrong with us for not sorting the mail or the dryer's been full of clothes for days. It's not that we're lazy. It's not that there's something wrong with us. We aren't interested in that, right? Our brains are wired for what's interesting to us. And I don't know about you, but I mean, a pile of mail is not interesting. And so we can just go, no, thank you. And so that was a real game changer, was learning. Now, of course, that doesn't mean great news, ADHD mom. You don't have to do anything you're not interested in. What it means is I recognize that I am not interested in doing my taxes right now. This is not interesting to me. So I'm going to have to be mindful of that, and I'm going to have to come up with strategies. Maybe I set a timer. Maybe I reward myself. Maybe there's a candle burning and my favorite music playing while I do it. It's recognizing I'm not doing these things because they aren't interesting to me. And some of them have to get done anyway. So how do I work around? So I lost the thread of the clutter in front of you. But Stace, I'm really curious how you feel about this.
Mm. Okay, I feel like I have grown up a lot since my diagnosis. So I am very similar to Steph, and my husband will say the same thing to me, even though he actually also has ADHD. He will say, didn't you notice that this is gone? Right. And we always laugh because he knows that I didn't notice. I don't see things that I think somebody like you, Emily, it would drive you nuts. I am just not as conscious of it. However, I have become so much more aware of how the energy of our things affects us. So, although I can probably tolerate it better than most, I do know that when I can clean my space and keep it more decluttered, I feel a shift in my energy. Like, I can't pretend that for the first 38 years of my life before I got diagnosed, that all of the things that constantly surround me in my environment weren't affecting my emotions because they were. I'm a very, very anxious, scattered, like all over the place type of person. And so the more I can try to clear my space and have it a little bit more organized and get on top of the bills and instead of letting them pile up for months and months and months because that is how long I will let them go. I will start getting pink slips. It's not because I can't afford to pay the bill, it's because I just don't feel like it. That stresses me out. That energy hangs over me like a cloud. And so, like I said, getting a diagnosis has been the best thing for me because I had no idea what was going on before. I was so confused. Yeah, I didn't even know I was messy for a long time. How embarrassing is that? I remember my husband telling me like, "Oh my, like this was way later after we'd been married, moved in together." He's like, "Oh, that apartment you had with your best friends, that was disgusting." I'm like, "Disgusting? What?" He's like, "It was a disaster all the time." I'm like, "Yeah, that was because of Sally and Jessica." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I had no idea. I did not think I was a messy person. This is how unaware I was of it. But
Well,
I've
okay,
just become I've
I want
just
to
become
ask
so
you
much.
like
Go ahead.
no, but like you're right though. That energy, it does affect us and we don't realize it. So what I'm wondering, Stace, is like maybe it's more important for us to have less clutter because of our regulation. Like maybe it is like contributing to us in ways that we don't know. Like one could argue that the ADHD woman needs the clean countertops more, right? And that top of mind thing is like write it in your to-do list, right? Like don't put it in your space. Like you do need a system. You do need it visual top of mind. What
So
do you
I'm so
think?
glad you said that because that was going to be my second point. So my husband and I had this great conversation, and him also having ADHD is always so helpful. He's been diagnosed since he was a kid. So he's like way ahead of the game in terms of he's been through Ritalin, he's been through overcompensating, like he's figured out strategies. He's still not perfect, but there's a lot that he has learned through the years to help him cope. And some of that, this is going to sound crazy, but it almost gets closer to OCD tendencies because he
Mm.
feels like he has to overcompensate so that he will be okay internally, so that he will be on time, so that he won't miss the meeting. So there are certain things like loading the dishwasher, like I have to step away when he does that because it is so scary how like beautiful mind he is about it. Like it's just like everything has to be just so. And like if he's leaving for a business trip, like he puts his keys in the exact same place and his AirPods and his wallet and like everything has to be just so. But he's had to do that over time to overcompensate so that he doesn't miss the flight, forget his wallet, like. And so I think there's a really fine line, and some of us maybe go to the other extreme because when we start realizing those lessons that, man, I do feel so much better when all my stuff is in place, we like hyper focus on it and become. So I'm kind of in this mode of like trying to be almost like overly organized. Like it's a long way there, but I think I'm actually going to be a lot happier mentally if I can get closer to Emily in her organization strategies.
We've We've talked about how ADHD and anxiety go hand in hand, and that for both of us, like kind of like what you're saying about your husband and like that OCD-ish almost needing to, is a compensatory strategy. Our anxiety serves to keep us on track. If you're anxious enough about missing registration for whatever or misplacing, if your anxiety is high enough, you're not going to mess up. And unfortunately, relying on anxiety to fuel organization, like there are some internal consequences. So it would be better to find another way, wouldn't you say, Emily? Like a healthier way to manage your life so that anxiety isn't your co-pilot?
Yeah, definitely. But this has been really so fascinating to me because like you were saying, Stace, with your husband, just kind of the overcompensation, because I feel like our culture is not, let's see here. If you forget your kid's permission slip, the teacher is going to think, oh, well, the parent doesn't care, the parent's disorganized, whatever. And it's not a matter of caring. It's not a matter of like, I don't care about my kid. I don't care about, what the school has to say. But I love that you were mentioning stuff about the Casey Davis because I actually got a lot from that book, How to Keep House While Drowning. Not because I'm necessarily drowning, but because of the moral component of I am a good person if I can keep my house up. I am a good person if my bathrooms are always clean. If this is my main thing that I'm responsible for, being a stay-at-home mom and now kind of a work from home mom, and if I can't do this, and this is like the main thing I'm supposed to be doing besides taking care of my children, like, what does that say about me? So
What does
I
that mean
love,
about me?
yeah,
Hmm.
just to kind of release that from our identity. But I love how, the experience of living with kids that have ADHD in your case, Steph, and then also husband with ADHD in your case, Stacey, just being able to understand and kind of have more compassion for like the different ways that we organize ourselves and the different ways we have to set up those systems and strategies that actually make sense for us and our family. And I was curious, Stace, in your case, I don't know for your children, our kids are kind of similar age. I have two boys that are 7 and almost 9,
Nice.
but they, for better or worse, they're the kids of a professional declutterer.
Ah,
So their rooms are neat, like they don't have stuff everywhere. Like we keep a pretty tidy house and everything. And I just wonder for your kids, like, do you feel like they have certain tendencies for decluttering or not, organization or not, because they have two parents that maybe have had some struggles or have to figure out their coping mechanisms. And I'm just curious how that's been with your kids.
This is a constant concern of mine. Now, my mom was really organized when I was growing up, and so was my dad. And I have this theory that we always swing the other way, right? Like, but so they were clean for me, and so I didn't have to be. And so I was messy. And so I'm hoping my daughters are going to be more clean to overcompensate for our disaster of a home. And my 5-year-old is showing some signs of that. They're both Montessori educated kids, started in preschool and now they're in, the oldest is in a more traditional setting, but that was kind of our base. And so I was hoping that would be a really good start, but no, this is something I think about all the time. I will be downstairs. Here's what's funny. I'm more frustrated by their clutter than my own. I can be blind to my own clutter, but I see their shoes like strewn on the floor in front of the shoe cubby where the shoes go. And I'm like, Maggie, put your shoes in the cubby. And then I will look
so
next to
close.
myself and my shoes are right there out of the cubby too. And I'm
I
like,
know.
and if she didn't catch me, I'll be like, never mind. I'll do it. Like it's so
I know.
embarrassing. And so it's a
I do the
constant
same
struggle
thing.
to be like, how can I teach my kids to be better than me? And they are learning by example. Of course they throw their socks on the floor. Me and my husband throw our socks on the floor. But me and my husband are also recognizing how much our stuff affects our energy. And so weekends are a time before cartoons on Saturday morning. We've been clean up the playroom, clean up the living room, and then we can watch TV. And so I think we're never going to be the kind of people that are going to clean up regularly. But if we can have like a once a week cleanup where we feel refreshed and re-energized, like that's good enough for us.
Yeah, and
I
Steph, I was gonna say if in your case with
yeah.
your 13-year-old, oh, you said 13, right, for your
Yeah,
youngest?
I have my 13-year-old lives at home and my 18-year-old is a college freshman. And I, first of all, Stace, the shoe thing. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been like, we need to clean up all these shoes. I look at the shoes, there's one pair of kid shoes and four pair of me shoes. Okay. Like it is embarrassing. But so yeah, relatable. This is so fascinating, Emily. I have an 18-year-old firstborn. Okay, so firstborns, like I'm a firstborn. We all know we're pleasers, and all of that. So both of my girls have ADHD. They both have anxiety. My oldest is an absolute neat freak. Her bedroom is like a thing of wonder. This kid, when she was 8 years old, she wanted a label maker for Christmas. Okay. Like she wants to label everything. She wants to organize and order everything. That is how she controls what's happening internally for her. My 13-year-old, I'm sure that we spent last weekend cleaning her room. And when I went in there yesterday to let a contractor into the house to deal with the leak, it's like a fruit cup has been spilled on the floor. There's like fruit cup juice. There's like a box of food under her bed. There's laundry. I'm like, I was like so embarrassed. And he's like, it's okay. Like, you have no idea the things I've seen. I'm like, I get it, but like, this is ridiculous. And so I've got these two neurodivergent girls, and it's like pendulum one and then all the way to the other. And I don't really have an explanation for that.
Yeah, well, I think you bring up a good point when it comes to the compensation you guys are talking about, which I get for my own brain too, that if I sense that threshold, in this case, the chaos threshold, we'll just call it, because it's not necessarily clutter,
Yes.
then I have to, okay, we're gonna get stuff under control. I gotta like understand what's going on. I gotta do a
Yep.
good brain dump. I need to write everything down too because I can't remember a thing. And so for me, it's just fascinating because as we're navigating parenthood, and I always joke with my kids, anytime there's a learning experience that I have with my children, I say to my husband, I'm like, well, let's deposit more money in the therapy fund. We have like the college fund and the therapy fund. all the
Yeah,
things.
perfect.
Yeah, so because we're learning as we go, like we've never
Right.
had the age of children we have until we do.
No.
So I find that really interesting. And I'm curious, just with your own experiences, you were mentioning, I think it was stuff just as far as like it gets to a certain overwhelm level, and then you're like, okay, like it's time. And I'm curious, just as far as like recommending if these mamas are listening and they're like, oh, wow, yes, relatable. Oh, yeah. And even if they're not diagnosed ADHD, but they have some of these tendencies that are resonating with them, how might they approach decluttering in kind of a different way
Right.
than your neurotypical mom?
I love that question. And also, I want you to know that I just wrote down chaos threshold and circled it because I'm like, that is the word, Emily. It's the chaos threshold. And I reached it this week. The last few days have been not my best. And I'm like, what is it? What is it? I'm trying to journal my way through it. I'm like, I'm listing every single thing that's weighing on me as though maybe I could purge it out. But when you boil it down, it's the chaos threshold. And mine was just tipped. Right. And so I want to say the key is to be proactive. I want to say the key is to chip away at something every single day so you don't reach the chaos threshold. I want to say that, but I also know what I've lived these last few weeks. And so it's been, every time I feel like I get my feet under me in one sense, something else comes, something else comes. And I think the problem with for all mothers, but especially neurodivergent mothers, is that we have the external chaos threshold and then we have the invisible labor. And unless you are one of those amazing people like how we interviewed Tracy Otsuka and her husband was just like, "Oh, this is your deficit. I got it." Like that guy's doing all the things, permission slips, and unless you live in that family, you are managing most of the invisible labor, right? And so I the practical advice I want to give is stay on top of it by doing a little bit of decluttering every single day and picking a room that you attend to every single day. But I know that that's not going to work for moms like me. And so what I want to say is neurotic self-care, hypervigilant self-care. You simply must keep yourself afloat. You must Cancel the meeting if you have to. Sit in bed with your novel. Go outside and walk your dog when you don't have time. Go to therapy. I do believe that journaling it out, let's list every single thing that is stressing me out, identify it, journal through it, right? Give yourself time to go to that restorative yoga class when you don't think you have it. You simply must keep yourself afloat, right? And from that place, you are going to be able to say, I'm making a plan. My plan is Friday from 2 to 5, I'm tackling this whole beast of a house. I've got my clean this house playlist on, and I'm making some iced coffee. I'm going to dance it out and I'm going to do it. But you can't make a plan when you are drowning.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I would definitely want to hear from you, Stacey. But just to that point, and you're mentioning the body doubling too, like finding these strategies where if your brain is looking for the novel and your brain is looking for the interesting,
The
and
dopamine hit.
the dopamine
Yeah, the
hit,
dopamine.
then
Hmm.
how do we recreate that with something that's out of the ordinary? So maybe it's the playlist, maybe it's like a special drink, maybe it's, you have the essential oil diffuser and it's like a certain scent that you're doing just when you're doing the decluttering. But the body doubling, I think, is so key, especially now, even for people that aren't neurodiverse, but maybe have trouble
Absolutely.
focusing. Like we have like these, co-working things. And I just think that those are some great practical things that people can do. But you bring up a good point that you can't make a plan and you can't do anything if you're in that state of emotional dysregulation, and you need to
Yes.
get back to that sort of like baseline. So like you said, kind of do what you need to do to get yourself to the baseline, then make the plan and
Yes.
understand that your brain is looking for that novelty and it's looking for that interest. And so creating strategies that give your brain kind of that hit, like you were
Right.
saying, Stacey.
And you
Hmm.
can't skip the grace period. If you are underwater, you can't skip the grace period and try to shame yourself into tackling your to-do list. You need to say, you're going to sit in bed and watch this TV show, or you're going to lay down on your floor and meditate. You can't skip the grace period. You have to give yourself that grace that says, I'm not okay right now. I'm not okay right now. So sorting the mail is not the right task. Right. And I think sometimes when we are dysregulated, we try to shame ourselves into regulation. It doesn't matter that I'm having a meltdown. Watch all these things that I can do. Don't do that.
Yeah.
That is so true, Steph. That's exactly what I used to do. Is just like the more stressed out I am, the more I'll do, and the faster I'll do it.
Oh
And
yeah, I
then I
used
would
to do
just get
that
more
too
stressed out.
yesterday. Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to do that, 12 hours ago. No, it's and you're gonna sometimes you sink into that trap, right? It's like that used to be my default. It's gonna pop up. Like last night I was like, take that stress. Look at all these things I can do. No.
Mhm. So,
So yeah, what do you think, Stace?
okay, so I will just repeat one more time the body doubling because I love that we do it once a week with the ADHD Moms Club. And so for me, laundry is like the bane of my existence. I hate it, hate it, hate it with a passion. And I am now of the mindset, we do it typically on Thursdays, so it'll be this afternoon. I don't even have to think about it. It is out of my brain because I know I will fold my laundry on Thursdays when I body double with my virtual friends. You know what I mean? So I like that because it helps remove some of the mental clutter of like, I don't have to do laundry today. Today is Wednesday. Tomorrow is body doubling laundry folding day. The other thing is the rituals, and it's kind of similar to what Steph had said, but Steph and I both serendipitously discovered around the same time that rituals were like the key to our mental health and to kind of reining in some of our ADHD tendencies. And so Steph does hers in the evening. I do mine early morning. I wake up at 5 a.m. And I've been doing it since last summer when I hit a breaking point because I had no alone time. My house was a disaster. I was overwhelmed. And I was like, I need some time to myself. I'm going to create it. And so 5 a.m., I have about an hour and 15 minutes to myself. I do a short workout followed by journaling, meditation, and then EFT. And so I know that sounds like a lot and a weird answer to what are your tips for decluttering, but honestly, like because I am doing that, because I have carved out time for myself, because I am resting more and getting to know myself better and sitting with myself and going inside a little bit more, I am realizing how important it is for my environment to not be a disaster. So, one of the things I'm journaling on is like, who is this woman that I want to become? Who is this woman you're always kind of thinking in the future, when the kids are older, you will do this, you will be this. And that woman is has a beautiful home. She has a beautiful home because she loves beautiful things. And my walls, besides like the picture behind me still has the wrapping on it because I can't really like I can't give myself to like be sure that I'm not going to return it. But other than this, like most of our walls are blank. Me and my husband have not prioritized our home in any way. We've been in it for almost 7 years. It's a disaster. It's not decorated. And that is not the woman I want to be. So if the woman I want to be is someone who has beautiful home with beautiful walls and is not having to stumble over things constantly. She has a clear path. Her inner peace is solid because the things around her aren't bothering her. To become that, I have to clean more. And for whatever reason, that mindset shift has really, really helped me be better at picking up my stuff and not bringing as much stuff in and being quicker to put things in the Goodwill donation bag. Like it, I have aligned myself with I want to be the kind of woman who is clean, like who is peaceful. And I can't be that if my house is a disaster all the time. So
Yeah.
that is like hands down my best decluttering tip for the ADHD woman because I don't think any of us really want to be messy, right? We don't want to be hot messes. Nobody's striving for that, even if they claim that it doesn't bother them. Like we all want to be a little bit more at peace in our homes.
That's such a beautiful that we do. We all want to be a little more at peace. Nobody is thriving when they're surrounded by chaos.
Yeah.
It
And
doesn't have to be a shame thing. It can be a self-love thing. Like, I
Yeah.
deserve to feel good. I deserve to feel at peace in my home,
Yes.
not this is my fault. Look what I've done.
Right. I am
Right?
worthy. I am worthy of this. Like, and before I did not believe I was worthy. I was
Yeah.
like, it's not important enough. This is just my bedroom, my bed being made isn't that important. It's just for me. But now I make it
Right.
every morning, ever since I started my ritual, because I look at my beds are right across from me right now. I look at it and I say, I am worthy of that clean bed, of that made bed.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love, that it's all on a foundation of like self-care, like true self-care. And I know you both understand what that means.
Mhm.
Like true, like
Yes.
what is it that we need to do to take care of ourselves at the deepest level and making the space for that and the room for that because we are worthy of it. And I feel like that's such a beautiful example of your podcast name, like the Mother Plus, like that we're more than. And I actually write poetry. It's kind of one of my side creative things. And I wrote a
Oh,
poem a couple years ago called Just a Mom, just in quotes, and just about kind of like the mundane nature of motherhood. And this is when my kids were, younger, more like toddlers. And is there more? Like, is there more than this? And recognizing that there is more because at our core, we're still, woman first, perhaps mom second. And so we have to
yes.
take care of the woman first. And then I just love that. I love that that's the basis of where if we're making any, excuse me, any positive changes in our life, it needs to come from that radical,
Yes.
unapologetic self-care, which is just beautiful. So thank you both for kind of
Oh,
sharing that
yeah.
because it's,
That gave me goosebumps. That unapologetic element, Emily, is so important. It's so important, and it takes so much conscious
yeah.
unconditioning to get there.
Yeah, and I always say I don't know. I always forget how old I am. That means I'm getting old when I can't remember. So
Kind of a beautiful thing, actually. I don't know how old I am.
I don't
It's
know. So
however I
I'm
feel.
I'm 44 and then I'm like, wait, I'm going to be 45 soon. That's like my mid 40s. That's crazy town. Like how did that happen? But just like the unapologetic nature, like when it comes to boundaries, when it comes to my self-worth, when it comes to how I see myself as the keeper of my home and a business owner and like all of these things, I'm just like, I am unapologetically going to do such and such because I don't have to explain myself. Like this is, I know now at this age now what I need in order to thrive. So, and like you said, Stacey, it reminds me of James Clear with Atomic Habits, identity-based habits. So you're proving to yourself with small wins the person that you want to be. So a person that wants to be more peaceful in their home, the micro win is I'm making my bed today. And it can be just like a small thing. So this is just like so beautiful. Any parting words of encouragement to our mamas before we wrap up?
I think it is that radical self-love and I think that understanding yourself and the way that you work does not mean that you're some sort of special snowflake. It means give yourself the correct operating manual so that you can function optimally because you deserve it and you deserve to feel at peace in your body and your brain and in your home.
And I know Steph already said this, but just to retouch on it, if you are ADHD, undiagnosed or otherwise, your natural reaction to stress is going to be to try harder and do more and seek out that dopamine hit. And it's counterintuitive to what feels right. But I swear to you, if instead of trying harder and doing more, you take a step back and even sit in your room for 5 minutes by yourself in the dark without your phone, it sounds weird, but like it works wonders on your nervous system to recalibrate and to focus on what you actually need to do rather than trying to cook and make the lunches and bake and clean the cupboards and write a poem all at the same time. Like that is not the answer. The answer is to sit with yourself for a minute and breathe and figure out what's next. Just give yourself 5 minutes to do that, and it's life changing.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you, ladies, so much for coming on the show.
Oh,
This has just like been such a joy. And it just, I love speaking to other moms who approach things differently than I do, that think differently than I do, because I want to help these mamas so much. And sometimes I feel like I don't have the tools or the experience in order to really help them in the way that they need to be helped. So I would love it if you could tell us more about the podcast and the ADHD Moms Club and just any way that our listeners can connect with you both.
Sure. So
absolutely.
our podcast is the Mother Plus podcast. It's anywhere you can get your podcast. We're also very active on Instagram at mother_plus_podcast. And as Steph and I have mentioned multiple times, the best way that you can connect with us, like really connect with us and be on calls with us on a weekly basis, is the ADHD Moms Club. It's totally free. We do weekly body doubling, and we're really going to ramp up our efforts there for doing more ritual work together and holding each other accountable for getting that peace more in our lives. Anything I forgetting, Steph?
No, you said it perfectly. Yeah, come find us. It's a supportive, loving community. We want to feel good. We want you to feel good, and we do it better when we're together.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, I
Thank
will I will link to all that in the show notes. So thank you both so much for coming on the show. It's just been, yeah, it's just been a real pleasure talking to you.
It has. Thank you, Emily. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Emily. This was beautiful.